Yeah, thank you, and it's good to see David and D3 Energy give you a bit of our story up front, but it's great to be back here at the Essential Energy Conference and South Africa. It's all about essential energy. So what I'm going to do is give you a bit of an introduction and or update by way of video on what we're up to.
Kinetiko Energy is a gas explorer focused on advanced shallow conventional onshore gas in South Africa. The country is experiencing an energy crisis where coal power plants are in decline and gas supplies from Mozambique are dwindling. Kinetiko has discovered a world-class resource, currently 6 trillion cubic feet of gas, which is 1 billion barrels of oil equivalent, located close to existing energy infrastructure and major cities. This offers a timely and vital alternative energy source for South Africa's crisis. Shallow conventional gas resources make this project truly unique. Organic material trapped in ancient sandstone layers, sealed by dolerite formations and resting above rich Karoo coal beds. Kinetiko's intended drilling process is simple and straightforward and utilises conventional methods. No fracking involved with minimum water extraction. This ensures a low-cost, low-risk approach to extracting high-quality gas. Once extracted, the gas is easily plumbed together from multiple wells into a central hub. From here, the gas can be developed in various ways: micro LNG plants, gas-to-power projects, direct pipeline distribution, or larger-scale LNG projects. With multiple development sites, the project's value multiplies, having the flexibility to carve off parts of the development for specific investments. Kinetiko's vision is to develop one of the biggest onshore gas projects globally, establishing multi-TCF reserves potential to become a critical, cleaner energy solution. With the potential for multiple additional gas fields, Kinetiko's project is a country-changing asset that could directly improve the lives of millions in South Africa for decades.
Okay, so indeed, millions of South Africans just don't have access to reliable or affordable energy every day, and it is a crisis, and there's no real remedy in sight, and we think we've potentially got a solution for that country, so it's a pretty important task we believe we have. 3 sort of key takeaways of this presentation. Firstly, there, number 3, is that we're undertaking a really high impact production testing drilling program. We announced to the market yesterday, we've mobilised a rig, and we expect to be spudding our first hole in the next 7 to 10 days, so we're very excited about that. The reason we're doing that program is to flow test and debunk some of the technical risks of our geology, and that flows into the significant resource. You know, we have this 6 TCF contingent resource in 2C, and I can tell you that's going to get a lot bigger, and I'll show you that reason in a minute in a slide. And also we have this similar geology, a bit as was outlined by D3 Energy, is that it is shallow, a conventional setting. It appears to be low cost and low risk to develop. So just really quickly on the South African energy crisis, yeah, look, it's significant. It's hours and hours, 12 hours a day of blackouts, extraordinary business and economic damage and disruption. They call it load shedding. You can see from the graph top right, it's been going on and getting worse and worse. That is because South Africa's coal-fired power base is in decay and cannot be replaced or repaired. And then in addition to that, it has one source of gas. You've seen this slide before, but bottom right-hand graph there, the Pandey Temane field's been a long-term, 20-year source of gas. That is now in absolute decline, and it's called the gas cliff. So it's one thing to have a world-class onshore gas discovery, but it's an even better thing to have it right next to existing infrastructure and customers that need it most. So the key takeaways from this slide is the map. So there's the pipeline coming down from Mozambique. That's bringing the only gas into the country, and it goes into that red square. That is Sasol's Secunda refinery, the biggest in the world when it was built. Coal to liquids is now going to gas to liquids. And what Sasol doesn't use goes down the pink line there, down to the industrial centres of Newcastle and ports of Richards Bay and Durban, and guess what? It goes straight through the middle of our grounded tenements. So that's one bit of infrastructure, but we also have in the Black Diamonds, South Africa's largest coal-fired power stations. They're in decay, and in many instances, they're right on our boundary and could be potential customers for our gas as well, which we'll show you. But interestingly here, I wanted to point out the granted yellow and orange tenure. That's across which our contingent resource is certified. The opaque green tenure is significant, over 2,000 square kilometres. That's under application. We expect to have that granted before the next 6 months, and we'll go immediately to increasing our contingent resource because we know the geology is consistent. Just a couple of other points to note there is that beyond our contingent resource, we had our first maiden reserves certified last year, so we know the gas can come out of the ground. It can be economic. That was certified by Sproul. But 6.4 BCF was only assessed over a tiny few pilot production wells that we'd put into play. That represents but 0.2% of our geology. So one of the real visions of this company is, like a resource play, is now to go and drill a lot more production testing wells, go back to our certifiers, and then again and again increase our reserves by an order of magnitude. So in doing this, a couple of other things. We've got a massive opportunity, but we need to have multi-site development potential. I'll talk to that a bit more about where we can put our production clusters right next to potential customers and indeed development partners. And we already have one of those. We have a legal joint venture with the Industrial Development Corporation of South Africa. So the government is already tipping in to bring about a production cluster, which we envisage having developed through the course of the next 18 months and hopefully into production revenues. Bit about our development characteristics, have to always go and tell people this is not a CBM play. We don't frack. We don't need to lift much water at all. It's a conventional setting. It is a unique geological setting. What we've found in this region is that significant volcanic sills have gone and sealed these sand-sown compartments and reservoirs, and that's starting to produce this opportunity in the gas that we've tested. It's high quality. It's up to 98% measured methane, a little bit of nitrogen and virtually no other impurities. Further to that, we took that a step further in a first of its type demonstration in country in May this year, and we plumbed one of our pilot production wells to a 1.2 megawatt gas generator and successfully produced electricity, which gave enormous confidence for the scale of our project as we start to bring really significant clusters of production online. And of course that's an important decarbonisation tick for the country that's always been based on coal-fired power. Look, a bit about our development strategy. The company considers it's got a clear and sequenced execution strategy. What we've been able to do repeatedly and successfully is deliver exploration success. All of our wells drilled over a number of years have all intersected gas, and in some cases some very handsome pay zones of over 100 metres in this shallow geology. So we're now focusing on taking this success to production appraisal, and I'll tell you more about this with this 5 well production program that we are about to commence. And then also production development. So next year we'll roll out our joint venture with the IDC. As I mentioned, that is a joint venture to put approximately 30 wells into a cluster and into a micro LNG train, which will can then be scaled up. This, of course, all feeds well into our ambition to grow our reserves, and as we continue to get production testing results, we'll be looking to take them back to Sproul and our certifiers and build up our reserves. And finally, there, just a bit of blue sky is again, probably an illustration of the appetite of this government to support an energy opportunity like this. And the IDC has executed a non-binding term sheet with us to develop South Africa's largest onshore LNG project. Just to give you a bit of colour on that, that looks like at phase 1 a 50 megawatt equivalent project. That's about 140 million Aussie dollar budgeted capex, but then rolling out to a phase 2 500 megawatt equivalent project. So a real significant project, and it's been given to us on very, very attractive fiscal terms financially. Importantly, it is the near term, and this Gantt chart, I think the real clear takeaway is the yellow line. That's the news flow. That's what we're doing right here, right now. We're going to drill, as I said, starting hopefully in the next week, the first of 5 production test wells. We're going to spud them. We're going to complete them within about 4 weeks in this very, very shallow, very, very doable geology. We're going to get initial flow rates, and then we're going to do some extended flow rate testing out over about 30 days. So there's not lots of news flow there, about 8 to 9 months worth, but it doesn't stop there. We then roll into the legal joint venture with the IDC, and we've got much more production well drilling to undertake amongst other corporate milestones that we have as well. So there's lots we can do there for the balance of 2025. So focusing a bit on this upcoming production test program. Look, the key illustration here is our ability to look to, develop these clusters right next to customers, and this infrastructure in South Africa that has capacity and we have access to. We're drilling our first well right within a couple of kilometres of the Majuba power station. Why is that important? Majuba was one of the biggest power stations when it was built in South Africa, is now in decay. Its coal is dirtier, deeper, more distant. But ironically, it has infrastructure in place to co-fire using gas. So the power of our gas to go into that power station and list the calorific value of the coal is right now. So we're drilling that well. If successful, we envisage a production cluster being developed right there, and there's our customer right on our doorstep. Further to that, we have other wells planned in this program too, right next to the Lily pipeline. That's the big pipeline I showed you earlier, and 3, 4 and 5. So spatially and strategically developed to show that we believe this geology is largely ubiquitous and consistent in what it'll be able to deliver. Sproule have recognised that any flow rates achieved above 50,000 are going to be economic, given the very cheap, low-cost dynamics of our drilling. So you need to think about that. We're budgeting our production wells at about $400 a well. It will go lower to that as we get economies of scale. Again, we expect to be drilling only between 500 and 700 metres. So looking forward to those flow rate results coming out over the next few months. Just on the corporate overview, so key takeaway here is probably the shareholder wheel on the right. It's a very tightly held company. Kinetiko has been for a long time. A lot of the shares are in the hands of directors. Over the last 24 months, we've attracted significant investment from some very strategic South African institutions. That's important, and that will be ongoing. We also finished the merger with Badimo Gas. That was our long-term partner. So we now own 100% of this project. We are BE compliant. And on the left-hand side, the key takeaways from the corporate snapshot is, 1.4 billion shares on issue with this market cap today of about 115 million, but we're well funded to go and do the exploration activity that we've talked about. So there's a number of appendices to follow up, but really that's it, and shows you that Kinetiko's vision is absolutely to keep performing exploration excellence and show that this gassy geology can in time produce multiple trillion cubic feet reserves. Thank you.